So I read this report about Anne, Princess Anne's injury. And I never really paid much attention to the story when it first broke. It's like there's already too much going on in that family to also be worried about Anne. But what I read today really kind of made my ears perk up a little bit. And this is from the Daily Beast. And it goes on to say that she was walking one morning alone. I mean, you tend to think of these people having staff with them to help with the horses. But in this case, we have a 73-year-old woman who was walking alone. And she certainly looks like a very fit and capable 73-year-old woman. Then later, she was found unconscious. And that's when they pieced together that she was possibly injured by a horse. So just to be clear, nobody actually saw her get kicked in the head by the horse. This is what I'm getting at here, folks. In this family, people keep getting seriously injured or worse, and we're not allowed to question any report coming out of the palace. So now we're hearing that she has no recollection about what happened. She's unable to talk about what happened, that she has amnesia. And I just have to ask the question, because these people are not forthcoming. So you have to take whatever they say with a grain of salt. And so now we have yet another woman in the royal family who is unable to say what happened to her. We again have to be relying on what the family is telling us. And listen, folks, I don't like the label conspiracy theorist any more than the next person. But the royal family is relying on people to look away out of fear of being labeled a conspiracy theorist. The article goes on to say that Zara is very upset. Now, the reason for her being upset, they don't really tell you directly. They just suggest that she's upset because her mom's been overworked. So you don't really know why she's upset. Maybe she's upset for a reason that they're not telling us. But let me tell you something, folks. After the last 6 months, I am going to question everything they say and do. Now, some people are angry that I said what I said about Kate. Someone in the comments said to me, "You're upset that she's alive." This statement cannot be further from the truth. Now, folks, I may be satisfied that Kate is alive, but it doesn't mean I'm satisfied that she's okay. Now, look, people keep talking about clones and masks. And look, I know the mask thing is real, but the clone theory, I'm sorry, it's just science fiction. You cannot clone a person and have that person mature into a 42-year-old in such a fast period. The whole notion of that is science fiction. Some people have mentioned the mask theory. Now, I have seen the mask with Emma Thompson that's very realistic, and I can't say that Kate was wearing a mask. It looked like the real Kate to me. That's just my opinion. Other people have said that she was that it was a body double. And look, I know for sure that this was a body double, but I'm not sure that the Kate we saw at the trooping was a body double. This looked like the real Kate to me, just a lot thinner. That's just my personal observation, and everyone's entitled to have their own personal observations. But for the person who said that I'm upset that Kate is alive, I just have one question to ask. Does Kate have any responsibility? What do I mean by that? Does she have a responsibility to the public, to some extent, to appear in public and give a live interview, to talk to the people, to be interviewed so that we can hear her voice. I mean, people are going to say, well, she can't do that. Well, why not? Why can't she do that? You see, that's a problem for me. If you're telling me that Kate is not allowed to speak, maybe it's a situation that she wants to speak, but that she's not allowed to speak, then I think that's a problem, don't you? I mean, I don't know about you, but that sounds a little bit like human trafficking to me. So the question now is it that Kate is not speaking because she doesn't want to speak or because she's not allowed to speak? Because that would go beyond her just not wanting to do the job. Now, prior to December 2023, Kate was willing to work. Kate was showing up. Kate was cutting ribbons. Kate was shaking hands. Kate was taking selfies. Kate was going to events and looking beautiful. And she was doing her job well. So why now is she not doing that anymore? I think it's a big question. And for people who are going to say things like, well, why don't you just let her have her privacy? Look, this is not privacy. This is secrecy. This is obfuscations and smoke and mirrors and strange letters. This just causes people to ask more questions. She makes one appearance and then that's it. Everybody can move along now. Because could it be a situation where she is trapped? This is a thought that crossed my mind. Let me use the analogy of the hostage. Let's pretend a hostage has kidnapped your loved one and are demanding a ransom of, make up a number, $20 million for you to get her back. And they tell you, don't worry, she's alive. Just hand over the money and you'll get her back. Folks, what is the first thing you're going to want to do? Number one, you're going to want to speak to her. And number two, you're going to want to see her. Now imagine they tell you, okay, here she is. She's alive. Now hand over the money. All is still not well, because although you were able to satisfy one condition of proof of life, you still want to hear from her that she is okay. You want to talk to her. You want to ask her questions. Have the kidnappers hurt you? Are you able to go outside? Are they giving you enough to eat? Are you doing okay? This is what is lacking in this story. This is why there is no closure, because we still don't really know if she's okay. She hasn't said anything herself, either because she is unwilling or she is unable. So it's not that I'm upset that she's still alive. I'm concerned enough for her that I believe that if she is really fine and she has not been harmed, then doesn't she have a responsibility to let the public know? Why does it seem as though she has given up her rights? And I don't know, listen, I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. It's okay to be wrong because nobody is right all the time. And that's how we get to the truth. We get to the truth by asking questions and maybe being wrong sometimes and being willing to change your opinion when you encounter new evidence. Because the question is, what is limiting Kate from speaking? What is limiting Kate from doing what she was doing before? Is it that she quit the job, or is it that she was fired from the job? And let's just say she really has cancer. I don't see why Kate can't do an interview to talk about what she's going through, rather than to have Kensington Palace and the press do all the talking for her. Which brings me back to the question, does Kate have any responsibility to the public to let them know that everything is all right with her? Fine, we see that you're alive, but is everything all right? We can't get that answer from Kate because Kate is unwilling to speak, or maybe she is not allowed to speak. Someone in the comments brought up the point about an NDA. And you don't think of people signing an NDA before they get married into a family, but this family is certainly an exception. This family learned all the wrong lessons after Diana. Instead of changing the way they conducted themselves in terms of their relationship with the press, they instead have chosen to double down, using the press to go after who they don't like. So they learned all the wrong lessons after Diana's death. Instead of being more transparent, they learned to be more secretive and vindictive. And so, do you think that Kate has any responsibility at all? You can't say she doesn't have any responsibility because she has cancer. She's still a public figure, and people are still worried about her. They want to know why things changed so drastically after Christmas. But instead, we get from the press some glorious Stalin-esque praise that comes off looking more like blackmail or extortion. If you say anything, all this saint-like praise you're getting is gonna change. Don't believe us? Just look in any British newspaper. You're gonna find negative stories and hit pieces about Harry. This could happen to you too, Kate. Case in point, we have the Pat Tillman drama that happened this past week. Once the story broke that Harry was up for the award, it's like Kensington Palace lost their minds. Immediately, they started sending out all these bots to cry about how undeserving Harry is and how his service was not good enough for them. And my mind went straight to this article about William, the disciplinarian. Like an unfulfilled, frustrated headmaster, William has now chosen a new career path of disciplinarian. Or is it more like enforcer? Sending out missives in the press to try and hurt his brother? How shameful! Folks, this goes well past sibling rivalry. This is meant to destroy. Because William is the perpetual victim, forever slighted because his brother flew away and found freedom. And didn't need his money either. He made his own damn money in spite of them. And for that, he must be punished. And folks, they just love giving themselves titles. And if William's treatment of Kate resembles anything like his treatment of his brother, then she's really in trouble. Mr. Billy Basher, the enforcer, now disciplinarian. The responsible brother who's gonna keep everyone in line. Next thing you know, you're walking alone and your horse suddenly kicks you in the face. Never mind you've been working your whole life with horses, even having Olympic medals to prove it. But once again, they've terrified everyone into asking questions anytime some serious injury has occurred in this family. Because they know nobody wants to be tagged as loony or conspiracy theorist. And so now they've gone back to putting out these little headlines and these little nuggets in the press about how she was spotted here and there and all these little old stories that they're rehashing again. We have this promo video that someone pointed out is actually old. So why have they gone back to putting out old footage of her, claiming it's recent? And since they're claiming that she's doing all these things, doesn't that mean she's well enough to do some royal engagements? I mean, she's either totally incapacitated because of her chemo, or she's actually up and about and doing all this fun stuff. Unless it's all made up. More lies. And if that's the case, I think the questions are still going to be asked. Why can't she be seen regularly? She hasn't been seen at Wimbledon yet. So for all we know, the whole business about her going to Wimbledon could be just another bait that the press decided to throw out there to keep people from asking questions. Trooping the Color was televised and broadcast for the whole world to see. But why has every appearance this year regarding Kate been a grand production? Nothing is candid, nothing voluntary. It's all staged and tightly controlled. Something's still not right here. And as far as the claim about her having cancer goes, somebody commented something to the effect of, "This is a disgusting video and you're so mean and you're so awful. How can you question a woman with cancer?" Now, folks, bear in mind, we still have not heard a word from out of Kate's mouth about cancer or anything else for that matter. And I am going to question the character of people who have demonstrated their aversion to the truth time and time again, and who continue to behave in a secretive fashion. Like, I am going to question that. I am going to talk about that. So just because you have chosen to swallow everything that the palace has fed you does not mean I have to do the same. Let's get that one thing clear. And she may very well have cancer, but the point is, why all the secrecy? Why all the lies? Why are they so furtive and suspicious and duplicitous in their actions? All we've gotten regarding the cancer is another written statement claiming to be from Kate, some very nebulous sounding letter about there being good days and bad days. It's just so general. There's nothing personal about this statement, and I challenge its authenticity and the claim that she has cancer. Because again, does Kate have a responsibility to her public? And not just because she's paid, but because she is literally a public figure. The Princess of Wales carries responsibilities. And don't you think the public has a right to know if she's quit the job or if she's been fired from the job? Because either way, she's not doing the job anymore. Because, folks, the trooping thing looked like it only happened after some very tight negotiations. Then suddenly her parents just popped back up, looking mighty chummy with William. Because if you notice, you're not hearing anymore about the Middletons' debts. And the last time we did hear about their debts, it was a whole year after the bankruptcy thing had happened. And I asked the question in a previous video, why is it that this thing happened a year ago? There's no fresh information. So why did they suddenly decide to spring this story a year later? I wondered if it might have something to do with intimidation. Intimidating her family to say, look, keep your mouth shut. Don't say anything, or we're going to have our press poodles talk about your debt. Because now, suddenly, we're not hearing anything anymore about their debts. And I don't think it's unreasonable to ask the question, does Kate have any responsibility to speak? And if you feel she doesn't, then why? Because right now, I may be satisfied that she's alive, but I'm not satisfied that she's okay.